Fight! Sorry. Sephiroth's Meteor from Final Fantasy VII! Hi everyone, and let's start!
Which will
Oh, sorry.
Dear Square Enix.
Hi Square Enix.
Hi! It's me, Austin!
Hi!
And boy, oh boy, I've been waiting years to do this video. I kept telling myself, Austin, just you wait, your time will come. They will make a remake of Final Fantasy VII eventually. They will have to. They will finally run out of ideas and boom! That's when you'll strike. And it's here! It's time! I'm prepared! Years of shivering with anticipation. And it's
I really like that. Anticipation.
finally time. You're mine, Final Fantasy VII, and you cannot run, you cannot hide. There is science to be done!
There's science to be done!
In any case, it's finally time for me to unveil my master plan and address something that's been bugging me for years, and it is this: the meteor in Final Fantasy VII. Before I get to it, let me give you a brief lore summary to explain even what we're talking about. In the universe of Final Fantasy VII, planets are alive, and that aliveness is contained within the life stream, and it's from the life stream that you get Mako, which, like, I definitely pronounced Mako for years, and I'm honestly, unironically mad about that. And anyway, the live stream is awesome,
Mako,
and powerful, and
so it is like tomato.
Sephiroth, who's this twink right here, is a bad guy who wants to absorb as much of the life stream as possible so he can be better at being evil. In order to do this, he wants to create a giant wound in the planet, which will force a bunch of the life stream to show up to the area to try and heal it. In order to do that, he summons a giant meteor using a special materia. I can't remember the color, and bada bing, bada boom, last chunk of the game is a meteor in the sky hurling toward us. Oh no! What are we gonna do? And the rest of the game is basically about killing Sephiroth so that Holy, the anti-meteor, can stop Meteor. And that brings us to the final cinematic of the game, yada yada, where that actually happens. But oh no! Holy isn't strong enough! It's breaking through! We're all gonna die! And then the Deus Ex Machina, the live stream shows up and
and then the Deus Ex Machina. Oh no! I mean, the live stream showed up. No! It's not Deus Ex Machina. The Deus Ex Machina. I'm sorry.
gives Holy a helping hand, and the day is saved. Yippee! So, what is my problem with this thing? Everything! Literally everything! There's so much about this that bothers me that I don't even know where to begin, but I guess first things first, I have to ask, is this even remotely dangerous? I mean, look at how slow it's moving. I mean, obviously it's gonna be incredibly destructive to Midgar, since it'll at the very least crush it underneath its enormous weight. But the entire planet, or even for that matter, causing a huge crater like we see in the north of the game? No way! And furthermore...
Isn't this exactly the same topic Matt did on Majora's Mask in 2013, just using the moon in that game instead of a meteor in this one?
Ooh, waifu. It's like trying to say that. You say it one more time? You say it one more time? You say it one more time? Something like that. Anyways, back to the video. Oh, I'm sure it's fine. It's fine.
Anyway, in today's totally original and not at all a retread of a video that's over half a decade old, we'll be
half a decade old.
calculating conclusively whether or not the meteor in Majora's, the moon in Final Fantasy, the meteor in Final Fantasy VII.
The moon in...
Whether or not it's fatal to the inhabitants of the planet, okay? Okay!
Okay.
This isn't just some topic I pulled out of my butt either. This has always bugged me because the end cutscene of Final Fantasy VII acts like, just look at this, right? Holy comes in and cushions Meteor's landing, but oh no, it's still coming through. But who cares? Look how slow it's moving. Okay, time to stop ranting. It's time to start mathing, because the truth of the matter is that something big and heavy
True, stop ranting, start mathing.
enough could cause significant damage just by hitting the ground, even if it were moving pretty slowly, as long as it were heavy enough. What causes damage from impacts from real meteors is, well, it's two things actually, but it boils down to one: kinetic energy. Our real world is hit by 25 million, that's million with an M, meteors every single day. Although most of them are really, really tiny. Almost all of them burn up in our atmosphere since they're entering at orbital speeds, tremendously fast. I'm talking 17 kilometers
Per second.
That's over 61,000 kilometers per hour, or almost 40,000 miles per hour in freedom units. That is over 20 times the speed of sound. When they're moving this fast, they actually smush the air in front of them. Air way up high is
And thus you see the flying, the fiery thingy in the front.
usually pretty cold, but when it's condensed like this, the heat energy density spikes tremendously to the point where it can get so hot that it glows. This is what causes shooting stars in the sky at night. It's not actually the meteoroids glowing, it's the air around them. The air can get so hot, and it often does, that it can melt iron. In fact, most meteoroids just straight up evaporate or explode. They get so hot from this re-entry heating. About once a year, an asteroid enters our atmosphere
That is big enough to survive.
that's big enough to explode with the force of a missile from this heating, and once every 5 years, a meteoroid explodes in our atmosphere with the force of a small nuclear weapon. Amazing. It takes a much more massive asteroid to actually reach the ground to hit and leave a crater. Like the one that created Meteor Crater in the Arizona desert, it was approximately half a football field wide at the time it hit 50,000 years ago, creating a massive crater.
Wow.
Meteors create damage in the same way a car crash does. Either it's really small and going really fast, or it's really big and moving kinda slow, like a semi-truck. Get hit by something big enough or something moving fast enough, and it will impart enough kinetic energy into what
To have a boom.
it hits to basically act like a bomb. So, to that end, if we want to know how dangerous Meteor from Final Fantasy VII is, we gotta, first of all, figure out how big it is, which is actually a huge freaking pain in the butt.
True. We must understand how big it is and how fast is it moving. Not easy to do.
Midgar is really the only thing we get as far as sensitive scale goes, and let me tell you, figuring out how big it is sucks. I went through, I want to say, like 3 games looking for exact numbers, and none exist. The best we get, and this is actually pretty consistent across titles, is that Midgar is suspended about 50 meters above the surface. We also do get this thing in-game that says it's a 1/10,000th scale model, but it's not exactly helpful since there's nothing
It's about one thing.
nearby to measure against. And let me tell you, getting a good side-on shot of Midgar is next to impossible. I checked Dirge of Cerberus, the oft underappreciated Crisis Core, and the hidden cutscene in the original game, and I came up with like 5 or so really terrible frames to measure from. This one here from the original game ends up being the best shot I can use, which is not ideal. But it's close enough for government work, so let's get to my favorite, unironically my favorite thing on the planet. Pixel measurements. Measuring to where I think is the bottom of the floating bit of the city to get a pixel to meter ratio. If 50 meters is 27 pixels, that means that Midgar is just over 200 meters tall, which is actually pretty tiny, all things considered, being about half the height of the Sears Tower. Willis Tower?
Where's Tower?
What's that? No, that sounds made up. No, it's definitely the Sears Tower. Anyway, the one break we get is that the meteor
I mean, you are a scientist, and also it's just public information. You can just search it up, Google.
is almost perfectly round, meaning if we can figure out how wide it is, we can do all sorts of math magic. Using some Photoshop trickery to figure out that in this frame, Meteor is 637 pixels wide, that gives us a radius of 589.8 meters, meaning this bad boy is over a kilometer wide. Woohoo! And using the good old volume of a sphere formula, 4/3 pi times the radius cubed, we can figure out the volume of this sphere, which is
What if it's not a sphere?
859 million cubic meters.
But wait, what if it's not a sphere? What if it's ovoid? Oval.
We need to know this in order to figure out how heavy it is, because if it's just like an empty balloon filled with air, it's not going to really do any damage hitting the ground. And given the average density of a rocky meteoroid of 3,420 kilograms per cubic meter, this thing weighs at least 2.9 trillion kilograms. That would be like if we took every single fish in the world and just dropped them on a major city. But all this mass means nothing, absolutely nothing, if it's not moving very fast. So, how fast is this thing moving? It's kind of hard to say. It's creeping
Now we got the mass. Now we need to know how fast is it going, the velocity, the acceleration, or the deceleration.
slowly, to be sure, but I figure a lot of that is due to them having to craft a cinematic in 1997 for the Sony PlayStation. But what we do know is that Holy eventually intercepts it and slows it down nearly to a halt just over Midgar, but it doesn't succeed in fully holding it back, which is why the live stream decides to show up and help. But what if the live stream did not show up? Would it be necessary to stop Meteor if it had already been slowed to a near standstill by Holy? Let's find out!
Interesting.
Now, I'm going to assume that the planet of Final Fantasy VII has gravity equal to Earth's just for simplicity's sake, because there's no reliable way to measure gravity in any of the games that I can find. What if Holy, unable to keep holding up the meteor, just straight up dropped it like a heavy bag of potatoes, as it looks like it's about to, from this height just over Midgar? What would happen? Well, free of any restraints, it'd immediately begin falling once again, pulled down by gravity, at an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second per
9.81
second and a height of 292.6 meters. By the time Meteor hit the planet 7.73 seconds later, it'd be traveling approximately 75 meters per second, or almost 170 miles per hour.
It's considerably fast.
Which is fast. At a mass of 2.9 trillion kilograms, it'd be hitting the ground and imparting over 8.43 petajoules of kinetic energy. How much is that? It's over 2 megatons of TNT, almost 100 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Nagasaki. This thing would cause explosive damage. Midgar is gone. Everyone within 5 miles of Midgar would be immediately killed within seconds of impact from the blast pressure alone. And it would create a fireball from the superheated elements and atmosphere over 1 mile wide. Whew. Beautiful. But other than that, it'd not be too bad. You wouldn't want to be in Midgar. You wouldn't want to be anywhere near Midgar. But the town calm, just like a quick drive away, might have some busted windows, some burst eardrums, but everyone would survive. The energy created by the impact would vaporize Midgar easily, leaving a crater 1.53 miles across in its place. That's not insignificant. It's about twice the size of the crater I mentioned earlier, Meteor Crater, the one from Arizona. So that's that, right? We don't need the live stream, right? The meteor itself isn't really all that fatal. Just let Holy do its thing,
No. Whole minute. It's still a lot of lives at stake.
Seat driver of a planet? Dang! Well, No, not really. Because Midgar makes no freaking sense. And you know what? I would rant about it, but it seems that Square is already aware of this problem. Like, the thing's only 200 meters tall, but Shinra Tower has like 70 floors. That just like does not add up. So the new canon is that the city is suspended 300 meters above the earth, which makes Midgar a whopping 1,300 meters tall, making it over 1.5 times taller than the tallest skyscraper in the world, Burj Khalifa in
That's impressive.
Saudi Arabia. And this change of scale, if it applies to Meteor, it means disaster. Dropped from a height of 1.7 kilometers, this nearly 5-mile wide meteor would reach a terrifying speed of 185 meters per second, or over 400 miles per hour in just 18 seconds. This massive 635 petagram monstrosity would hit with over 10 exajoules of energy, releasing the explosive energy of 50 Tsar Bombas, the most explosive nuclear weapon ever tested on the surface of the Earth, creating a fireball miles wide and flattening any building within 25 kilometers. A fatal blast wave nearly 180 kilometers wide would kill everyone within its reach, and people over 263 kilometers away from the center of the blast would experience first-degree burns from thermal radiation caused by the fireball. You'd have to be over 400 kilometers away from the impact zone to be entirely safe. And even then, you might still have broken windows. If the thing was dropped on my current city of Chicago, the dangerous effects of the blast would be felt almost all the way to my old town of Champaign, Illinois. The fires would rage for days, sending plumes of smoke and debris flying up into the sky for weeks. And when they finally died down, in place of Midgar would be a crater 20 miles wide.
What? 20 miles? Wow. Oh my gosh.
This would probably do the trick for Sephiroth, but the whole planet? Planet would probably be fine.
Probably fine, just shaken a bit, off the orbit a bit. But still, we probably be fine.
There would be consequences, though. Believe it or not, on our planet, in human history, we have experienced explosions bigger than this. Meteor clocks in at 2.2 gigatons of explosive power. But in 1815, Mount Tambora exploded in Indonesia with over 3.3 gigatons of power, obliterating the mountain in the process. It was so loud that it could be heard thousands of miles away from the source. And aside from obliterating the local area, the amount of dust and ash it threw up into the atmosphere created a global temperature drop of 0.4 to 0.7 degrees Celsius on average, triggering a famine in the northern hemisphere in what was known as a year without a summer. Amazing. In this case, I think we maybe do need the live stream, but the planet could still survive, although the casualties would be sky high. Thankfully, in the real world, giant meteors aren't at risk of hitting us. What's that? There's almost 1,000 undocumented near-Earth objects larger than 1 kilometer, and it would take over 4 years of preparation in order to plan a mission to divert them if we ever did discover one on an impact course for Earth. Oh no! Okay, all of you right now, go join NASA. Maybe you can't save us from a horrifying nuclear bomb-sized rock, but you can at least give it a really cool name like Sephiroth before it kills us all.
Sephiroth.
Sincerely, Austin.
Sincerely, Austin. Yay! Oh, this is the nail cats. It's the nail cats. I remember that meme. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you do like this video, please consider to like, share, subscribe to my channel, and comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you. But hey, that's just the signs. The signs off. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video. This video came out from the YouTube channel The Game Theorists back in the year 2020, which is 1 year ago. I sincerely appreciate it if you would show support for them, because me personally, I'm a huge fan of their work. Yeah. Moreover, yes, if you were to like this video, please remember to watch their video, the original video, and don't remember to like, share, and subscribe to their channel and comment down below on their videos, and remember to follow the channel. Sincerely appreciate your encouragement and appreciation for their work, because yeah, it's not easy, and their videos are very entertaining, knowledgeable, and wisdom-filled. Very fun to watch. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time in my next video. Bye bye.